All right, guys, what is up? This is Breakfast with the Brand, and I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I'm joined by the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth. If you're feeling phenomenal today, go ahead and do two things for me. Number one, put some flames in the chat. Number two, let us know where you're listening in from. As usual, we have a phenomenal show for you today. But before we get into that, Bobby, what's up?
Man, Junior, I'm absolutely phenomenal this morning. I did chess. We open up the day with work. We open up the day with the sweat. And I was looking good. You ever look yourself in the mirror, you're like, is that me? Is that me? So I looked in the mirror and I said, okay, we working. So I feel good. I'm excited about today's topic.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Bobby, what are we getting into today, man? Are we gonna touch on a little bit of branding? A lot of people, I've been getting a lot of questions, but mostly on the marketing side. Like everybody's thing is like, how can I get more clients? How can I get more clients? How can I, that's the main theme I'm getting nowadays, and it's been like that for quite some time.
Hmm.
So I don't know, man. Let's just have an organic conversation. Let's see where it goes. But guys, if you're viewing this live right now, go ahead and put those topics in the chat. Put those questions in. This is 100% live, and we will be getting to all of those phenomenal questions, and of course, giving you phenomenal answers.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Kind of just to get the conversation going, one of the things that I've noticed is people know their product, but they don't know their people. They know their offer, but they don't know their audience. Meaning, if you're going to market effectively, you've got to know who you're marketing to. Marketing is all about communication and messaging. It's about getting the point across clearly. And what I think my challenge was when I was trying to figure out the marketing piece was I knew everything there was to know about my profession, about my skill set, about my product, my service, my offer. No idea what my customer was looking for. No idea the story that they were telling themselves. No idea where to find them. And that, I think is a pretty interesting place to start as we dive into the conversation after the break. But I know that one was one that puzzled me quite a bit.
That's right, man. Listen, I have a couple thoughts on that. We can definitely get deep into that. Guys, we'll be right back after this quick break. Stay tuned. This is Breakfast with the Brand.
I said Sean Rye East. I'm proud. I said Sean Rye East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a zero behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes.
Right, guys. So we're back. Bobby, so you sort of gave a very interesting take there. And for those of you just sort of coming in after this break, so what Bobby was breaking down is the fact that most people know their products and they don't really know their people, right? So they know their products and they don't know their people. And Bobby, what I'll say to that is that Dan Kennedy has this phenomenal saying where he says that, the big point or the big epiphany for entrepreneurs often come when they realize this. And this is when they realize that they're not in the business of the thing. They're in the business of the marketing of the thing. Let me just say that again. So whatever you're in, whether it's coaching, whether it's closing, whether it's speaking, whatever that is, you're not in the business of the thing. So people say, I'm in the speaking business, I'm in the coaching business, I'm in the accounting business, I'm in the blank, and you could just insert whatever you like. He says that the big epiphany comes when you realize that you're actually in the marketing of the thing. And I believe that's what you're explaining, Bobby, because when you focus on the thing, you focus on the product. When you focus on the marketing of the thing, you focus on the people. You focus on the message. You focus on the avatar. You focus on your media, the kind of content that you put out there. And I think the quicker that entrepreneurs start to realize this, is the quicker they make breakthroughs when it comes to actually selling that product.
I agree. I agree a lot, Junior, because as a financial specialist, like when I was on the CFO side of things, one of the biggest expenses that we saw were customer acquisition costs, meaning how much money, time, and effort does it take to acquire a customer? And that is a metric that a lot of people don't know. A lot of entrepreneurs aren't thinking about it. And the reason it's such an expensive metric or such an expensive part of the business is because very few people know what Don Kennedy just explained. So here's what's most likely happening, or at least what happened to me and a lot of the clients that I work with. And once I share this with you guys, you'll be able to avoid this in your own business. So what tends to happen is we spend all of this money on product fulfillment. So we'll get a secretary, we'll get someone to answer the phones, we'll buy all these systems to deliver the product, we'll buy a nice website, we'll get all of these different things, but we won't really take into account the marketing expense. Like, what is it going to cost us to actually acquire a customer? So in fact, what we just did is we spent all of our money on delivering the service. But the problem is we've got all of these expenses to deliver the service, but nobody to serve. We don't have any customers, any clients. So when people come to individuals like Junior, they're like, hey, Junior, I need help. And Junior may say something like, hey, you need some copy, or you need a landing page, or you need to improve your website. And their response is then, well, I don't have any more money. And Junior may say, well, what happened to all of it? And then they may say something like, well, I got this person on payroll, I got this person on staff, I bought this thing last month, and I got this thing, this system and that system. And he's like, well, how many customers are you serving with all of these expenses that you're paying for? And they'll say 0. So what really tends to happen is they put the chicken before the egg, so to speak, in my experience. So how I've noticed to avoid that and to really get it right is to spend your first dollars. Some of your first dollars should go towards market research. And market research can be done as simple as getting someone like Junior, like a copywriter, to test copy, to do A/B testing, to put a landing page together and identify traffic. Most people don't spend their first dollars on research. They spend their first dollars on assumptions, and their assumptions are often wrong.
Once we start talking about assumptions, I start thinking about philosophy. So let's talk a little bit about philosophy. Like, what is philosophy? Is basically a way of thinking. And why am I even talking about it? Is because I've noticed that the biggest entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs that make the most money, that make the most impact, the people that actually understand business, they break it down from its core. So in other words, is if you want to sell something, you're not like you're thinking to yourself, okay, who is this person? You're not starting with the thing. And another thing too, Bobby, I noticed that most entrepreneurs, they're not measuring what matters. They're not looking at any metrics per se. They're not looking at any metrics. So it's like, well, what is your cost of customer acquisition? They don't know. What is your open rate? Simple stuff like open rate, they don't know. Your conversion rate, they've never checked. Your your click through rate, they've never checked, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But what I know and what I've experienced from my own personal experience is that, the more you start to track what matters, the more you start to look at data, the more you start to look at numbers, the more you start to consider what's actually happening underneath the hood of your business, is the quicker that you can grow that business. And it's the same thing for marketing. If you're getting started right now, your first metric is how many people are you reaching with your marketing attempts. So how many people are your posts reaching? And most social media platforms, they allow for us to at least get these basic metrics today. So once you know that you're reaching a nice number of people, how many of those people are clicking to convert to a free offer, like a landing page, like a newsletter, like a free book, any kind of lead magnet? How many people are actually clicking and going over there? And then from there, how many are converting to clients? So data, it's all about the data, man.
Yeah. And when you say the data, another thing that comes to my mind is who taught you how to entrepreneur? Now, I'm sure that's not a sentence that most people hear or a sentence that you would say, but I was watching a comedian once and he was making this whole comic segment about who raised you, like how, like where did you get the idea that this was acceptable? And it was a pretty funny segment, as he just talked about little things that Americans do that just make no sense. Like you had to have no home training, as we say here in the South, to have done that. And the same thing is true of entrepreneurs. It's like we get out in the world, and when I say entrepreneurs, I'm one too. Like I'm not excluding myself; I'm one of us. But I had to mature, grow and develop. But when I first got started, I was doing things that a seasoned entrepreneur would say, who raised you? Like, who taught you to do that? Like, where did you think that this was acceptable? And one of the things that we may see is being thirsty, diving into the DMs and then just spamming people with all of this stuff and saying, hey, buy my stuff, check this link, da 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 da. In like a paragraph this long, you don't even know the person. Like, somebody looks at that and like, who raised you? Like, who taught you that that was acceptable? And that's something that I think entrepreneurs ourselves can take for granted, is that we don't come out of the womb entrepreneurs. Nobody does. Like it's a skill set, much like anything else. And I think the media and the hype has made it look like it's such a racketeering pirate type activity. It's like they make it seem like it's lawless. There are no rules. Do what you want. You're your own boss. You can do what you want. You make the rules for once. Like that's the way it seems. So I feel like a lot of people get into business thinking that that's how it is. They get into business like it's my way or the highway. I sell what I want and they're going to buy it because I built it. And I just
But
noticed.
Bobby, we can, not to cut you, but
Yeah.
we can look at that right there. So, like, everybody listen. So check this out. The whole idea or the whole saying, "Be your own boss." Where do you think that came from? That came from a copywriter put that together. Like, you think of what you just said. The
Mhm.
idea of being your own boss. Doesn't that sound like a slogan to you? Be your own boss.
It does.
Guys, listen. Everything is copy. I tell people all the time, everything is copy, especially what you don't see or what you don't perceive to be copy. The other day, Bobby, I went to I guess in my country, I guess you guys would call it like a bodega or something like that. I went to like a little store around the corner, okay? And I went in. Now, I'm health conscious, right? So I walk into the store and I wanted something to drink. So I'm like, okay, let me get some juice. So I walk into the fridge. I open the fridge and there's like a couple boxes of juice in front of me, right? So I'm saying to myself, okay, let me see if I can get the healthiest juice. So I'm looking at the different options and I'm weighing my options. So I pull the one that says no sugar added, or no, yeah, no, something like that, like no sugar added, something like that. So I said, okay, so I'm about to pay for the juice, okay? So I said, okay, let me just check something, right? So I take the box that had the no sugar added. I pull another box from the fridge that didn't have the no sugar added. I flip the boxes around. I say, I wonder how much sugar is actually in this, because even if it says no sugar added, you and I both know that when you drink it, it tastes sweet. So, to my surprise, The box that said no sugar added had more sugar than the box that didn't say no sugar added.
Hmm.
Like, it's just crazy. But me, being health conscious, I'm like, this is it. Like the slogan or the hook, we call it a hook in marketing. In sales, we call it a dominant buying motive. So, a dominant buying motive means what is going to get that person to ultimately go over the edge and say yes. In marketing, we call it a hook. So, the hook for me was no sugar added. Because in my mind, I'm thinking sugar is bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I want you to think of the genius there, the genius in those three simple words: no sugar added. To a health conscious person, we already have an association of sugar. We associate sugar with bad things, like, bad stuff, bad health, no health benefit essentially. Okay, except it tastes good, but after that, you know, it drains your energy. It doesn't provide you with the nutrition you need. So we have this negative, you know, thing about sugar. The person who wrote that on that box knew that the customer, this is not an accident, they knew that the customer already had a preconceived notion, a preconceived association when it comes to sugar. Okay. And they put that on that box, knowing that when you saw no sugar added, if you're a health conscious person presented with two options, you're going for that box.
Hmm. Yeah.
So the question is, did you really? And there's an interesting question, and put it in the chat. And I see Dr. Michelle. Shout out to Dr. Michelle. So put it in the chat. In the situation that I just described, did I really make the choice? So who chose for me? Who sold me? Did I sell myself, or did the copywriter sell me? Put it in the chat. Isn't that an interesting question? Some will say, well, you chose the box, so you ultimately bought the product. But as a copywriter, I look at it as an assisted choice. So you think you made the choice, but you had a little bit of assistance from a genius writer.
Yeah. That's interesting to think about. Very interesting to think about, because when we think about entrepreneurs and we think about business owners, professionals looking to get into business for the first time and things of that nature, I think that's one of the last things they want to do is write, copy, or produce content. And it's interesting because that's the first thing they must do to attract leads. It's like if you don't have anywhere for the leads to come, like a landing page is full of content or full of copy. A website is full of copy when done right. A what do they call them? A flyer is full of copy when done right. But it's one of the last things that entrepreneurs are introduced to. It's like I feel like they're probably first introduced to click funnels or some conversion mechanism. Like, hey, get your people to come to this, like lead magnets. I think that's what are some of the first things entrepreneurs are introduced to. One of the second things I think they're introduced to is content creation. Okay, create some content, and as you create content, build a fan base, build a following. And then I think the next thing is sales. But none of this really talks about copy, the art of converting or getting into someone's head in their mind and becoming a part of the narrative that they're telling themselves. And if that's one of the last things you learn, money is one of the last things you'll make, because they're going to all of the people that are, I think Oprah Winfrey said it this way: everybody wants to be understood and heard. Heard and understood. If your prospects don't feel heard, meaning like they're saying things, but you're not delivering, you're not acquiescing, and if they don't feel understood in the sense that you're saying one thing, your product is saying another thing, and they don't think you understand them, like they're not spending money there. So I just thought that was interesting, Junior, that it is, three words, no sugar added, but those three words are three words that could transform anybody's business. It wouldn't necessarily be no sugar added, but it could be no meals, no more meals without bread. Like maybe that's a fitness guy's thing, and they could start selling. So I just thought that was interesting. I know we're about to go to a break here. Short.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
pretty insightful.
Yeah. But before we do that, man, like I want to, just to talk on the copy for a little while. In fact, just recently, Bobby, about a couple of days ago, I was actually working on a piece for a gentleman, and I sent him a first draft, and then he sent me back some comments, and I love this. Like when I do copy for people, they'll often give me like their input. Like they'll say, okay, I want you to write this here, and I want you to do this here. And he sent me some comments, and he said that he wants to say this, and he put in some big words. And then I tell him, brother, I definitely appreciate your feedback. However, you have to remember that it's not about you. It's not about the way you read. It's not about the way it sounds. Like you don't want to sound smart. It's about the way that the person on the other side is going to receive it. Now, that being said, Bobby, copywriting is not about writing. Believe it or not, it's not about writing. Hear what I'm about to say. I could write copy, and I could literally intentionally write in a mistake, like a grammatical mistake in my copy, if it conveys a point. So copywriting is not about writing. Copywriting, if I had to, some people call it salesmanship in print. If I had to simplify it, I would say the art of painting mental pictures using words. See what I'm saying? Now, it's so interesting. When you really think about it, when you really break it down, the letters in the words, I don't even call them letters, I call them characters. Think about that. Your keyboard has characters, right? A character could be not just like the regular ABC 1, 2, 3. The character could be the different symbols in your keyboard is a character. You know that, right? Like everything you type in, everything you can type is a character. So it's not about writing. It's not about writing. So for example, you could put together a word. Like Bobby, have you seen you've seen that remember they used to have that game show, man, where they did the Wheel of Fortune, right?
Yes.
Where they would spin the wheel, and then they would have the big board with the different letters on it, and you had to fill in the blanks. Remember that? So how is it that people are able to fill in the blanks? And remember, some people used to fill in the blanks with wrong stuff. Some people with really wrong stuff, right?
Yeah.
But how is it that they're able to fill in the blanks and not see the words? I want you to think about this. It's because when they see the letters or the characters arranged in a certain way, it paints a mental image for what they're looking for. Now, in the example I just gave with the no sugar added, that person had to have known a couple things. Number one, people that buy that particular product are conscious of their health, and thus they're conscious of the sugar intake. So that means that that person knows that the ideal clients or one of the ideal clients' daily frustrations or pain points is sugar intake. They also had to have known that most drinks in their category, meaning soda, meaning ginger ale, meaning other, boxes of juice, stuff like that, they have been known, like their competitors have been known to have high sugar, high sugar value in there. Interestingly enough, they would also have to have known that people that are health conscious are turning, like me, we're turning the back of those boxes and we want to see what we're drinking. Now, remember what I said. I said their juice had more sugar than the other one, right?
Right.
So, in order to overcome that objection, as we would say in sales, or in order to counteract that, or in order to close the deal and create a mental image that they need to get that person to go over the edge and say yes, they summarize it so beautifully into three simple words: no sugar added. You see what I'm saying? As a copywriter, you're not a writer. You're a researcher, you're a strategist, you're also a wordsmith. So you're a researcher, you're a strategist, you're also a wordsmith. And if you could master those three things, then you could literally market anything. And then you could build your brand. Guys, when we come back, we'll be talking more about marketing and branding. Stay tuned. This is Breakfast with the Brand. Let's grow.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're gonna add a zero to the world, but you'll also add a zero to your revenue. Let's grow. So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating.
All right, guys, so we are back and we're discussing marketing. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. And I have a question for you who's looking. If you've been with us for a while, put it in the chat. Has this information been useful to you? And yes, keep sending those lovely morning wishes. I see Tia. Shout out to Tia. Let me see. Dr. Michelle is putting in a couple things there. Let's read it. So she says, our mind's a filter. So our mind's filter, which is true. And she's reiterating what I said, which is, as a copywriter, you're a researcher, you're a strategist, and you're also a wordsmith.
Yeah.
She said, by the way, Freeling, thriving Thursday. Dr. Michelle, the tongue twisters. All right, Bobby. So let's get into it. What are your thoughts on what I shared, Bobby?
I think that it's why Branded Like a Leader is one of the best programs on the market for lead generation. And I'm not saying that just because we produced it, right? I do have a bias, of course, but it's one of the best programs on the market for lead generation because it focuses on the art of critical listening and brand positioning. And what that really is how do you tune your ear to the market? So those that know a little bit about my past, I've had a past in music. So a guitar has 6 strings, right? Depending on the guitar. And you've got E, A, B, C, G, E, F, right? All the way up. Now, Each of these strings are tuned to a certain tension. And once you get it to that tension, it creates a melody, right? When you string all of them together, and then boom, if you play it properly, then you'll get certain notes. What Branded Like a Leader does is it teaches you how to tune your ears to the market. And that's one thing that a lot of individuals are just, they don't know how to do. Like, we know how to talk, but we don't know how to listen. Like, we love sharing our perspective and our view on things, but we don't know how to critically and empathetically. More times we're sympathetically listening to people instead of empathetically listening to them. When we have sympathy, we see someone that is seasick, and we go and join them by the rails. Like, we're hanging over with them. Like, I'm seasick. No, I'm not. They're seasick. But when you have sympathy, it's like you're so engulfed in what they're feeling, you actually engage in the same activity as they do. But empathy, on the other hand, says, hey, let me get you some saltine crackers and some ginger ale to stop the motion sickness. So what am I saying there? Is I'm saying that if your ears are not tuned properly and your eyes are not tuned properly, when people say things in the marketplace, you may sympathize instead of empathize. You may ignore instead of ask to know more. And that's like one of the things that Branded Like a Leader does. One of the second things that it does is brand positioning. So once you can hear what they're telling you, you want to be able to position your product, your brand in the marketplace in a way that they can identify with it. Positioning, as I've matured, has more to do with, can't do the right people resonate with it than do the right people see it. Like, now, a lot of people will see it. A lot of people will see your brand. Like, if you go onto your metrics and you look at your reach, it'll say something like 1,000 people, 3,000 people, maybe 20,000 people, depending on how big your reach is, how big your following is. But how many of those people actually resonate with it? So there's this part of positioning that I've learned that has to do with resonating with the audience and not just being put in front of the audience. Ads is getting in front of the eyes, but branding and positioning is about attracting. So I really like what you broke down there, Junior, when you said researcher, strategist, and wordsmith, because the researcher is making sure that they understand the market, they understand the ideal client. The strategist is ensuring that the positioning is accurate and effective. And the wordsmith, I would say, is connecting the research to the positioning. And then once the words are effectively put in front of the ideal client and the brand is in alignment and the research is in fact accurate, what you get is a endless flow of leads. And they're ideal to a degree. And then when you qualify them, it's a matter of liquidity and not a matter of do they have the problem that you solve. And that's another thing that I think would be good to get into, Junior, is how marketing should qualify. Because a lot of times people are having conversations that lead nowhere. They're having a lot of dead end conversations, and their confidence, starts to take a hit after a while.
So check this out. That's a great question, by the way. So when we talk about positioning, what do we actually mean? Like, guys, I want you to picture, what do we actually mean by positioning? What does that actually mean? It's a fancy word, right? But what does it actually mean? To position a product means to literally take a position in the market. Now, what does it mean to take a position? It means to take a stance. To take a stance, or to place your product or to position it, right, in a certain light, to paint a perception around it, okay, or to take a certain position in terms of what you believe, who you are, stuff like that. Now, in what we call magnetic marketing, you want to push and you also want to pull. And that's something that Shaan also teaches. You want to push and you want to pull. So you push away the non-ideal clients and then you pull the ideal clients. Well, how do you do that? So this is how you do that. It comes down to messaging. So in marketing, it is just as equally powerful, if not more powerful, to tell people what you are not rather than telling them what you are. Everybody tells you what they are. So they'll say, we're the number one company in the United States for X, Y, and Z. We're the number one accounting firm doing da 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 da. We're the number one da 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 da. You know, they'll go on and on and on, and they'll tell you all about the phenomenal things that they're doing and the phenomenal things that they've done, and how great they are. But what's even more powerful, and again, Bobby, we have the case studies to prove this. We've seen it with brands like Gillette that came into a huge razor market that was not Gillette, sorry. There's this the Dollar Shave. I think it's called the Dollar Beard Club, something like that, where they basically ship razors to your house for like $1. They came into the shaver market, which is dominated by Gillette, and they were able to overtake the market share simply by telling people what they are not. So they didn't tell you what they were, they tell you what they are not. And I'll give you a quick example. So if I'm a coach and if I'm launching a coaching program, I could get people interested in the program by telling them what the program is not. So I'll say, for example, this is not another program where you're given a set of modules and you're left to figure it out on your own. This is not another coaching program where coaches will talk with you for 30 minutes and then disappear for like 5 days. This is not another program where you're left to figure all of the stuff out on your own, where there's no accountability, no community, and no assistance after hours. This is not a coaching program where all of the instructors disappear after 5 o'clock. This is not a coaching program that only gives you theory and doesn't help you to implement the information that you're learning. If you're interested in going to the next level, and if you don't want any of these things that I've put above, then click below to learn more information. Like saying stuff like that can be equally, if not just as, or if not more powerful than just telling people what you are.
Man, Junior, I think more people should do that. I really do. I think more people should just say, hey guys, I'm not this, I'm not that, I am not this, but if you're looking for X, I'm your guy or I'm your lady. And the reason I think more people should do that is because it's a saturated market. Like you were just pointing out, like everybody's doing something, everybody's selling something. And I think that's just the result of the direction that the world is going. We're moving into what's known as a globalized economy where we're able to sell to everybody. We're able to sell globally. The internet has made the world so very small. So I think that telling people what you're not is one of the best ways to craft out a niche, and we don't use that word as much. I remember last year or maybe the year before that, niche was a buzzword. Niche down, riches and niches, riches and niches. Well, it's still true, right? Even though people aren't saying it as much, it's still true. And the science behind a niche is very simple without going too deep, but in economics or mathematics, what we call it is the long tail. We call it a small head and a long tail. And we're not going to go too deep in what that looks like or anything like that. But if you wanted to do some research on it, you would just type in long tail of a parabola. Now, that's as deep as we're going. I digress. Now let's go back to the top of the funnel marketing stuff. But if you wanted to go deeper into why niches actually work, you will look into the long tail of a parabola. Now, what is a niche and why is this so important? So what the niche would do is it would isolate enough of your ideal prospects in order for you to achieve an early adopter group, a group of early adopters. So early adopters are people that are willing to test a product that has not yet been proven. All right. They're willing to test a product that has not yet been proven. This is very important in your marketing endeavors, because if you're looking for seasoned people that are used to spending, say, big money, but your product has not been tested, your product doesn't work really well, you don't know how well it works, you're just saying, hey, I know what I'm doing and I'm an entrepreneur, like you're you may get a disconnect. And I want to make this super, super simple, just so to clarify. My background is in entrepreneurship with a concentration in finance and economics. So what I'm giving you is evidence-based entrepreneurial insights. So in business school, they teach us that you need to have message to market fit. You also need to have solution to problem fit. Now, the solution to problem fit says that your solution in fact solves the problem. Message to market fit says that the messaging, it resonates with the market. What a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling to do is get proof of concept, meaning they don't really have evidence that their product does solve the problem. So now what are they left with? They're left with a message that doesn't connect because they're messaging to people that are looking for tried and true products, tried and true solutions, when in fact what they have is a theory. Can you sell a theory? 100%. Can you sell an idea? 100%. But who you sell that to is oftentimes an early adopter. And that's where the niche comes into play. So the niche says, I don't need to get 1% of $1 billion market. That's very hard to do. I don't need to get 20% of a $100 million market. I need to get from 0 to 1. That's what the niche says. The niche says I need to get from 0 to 1. And once I get to 1, the niche says if one person has this problem and the product that I have was able to solve the problem for this one person, the likelihood of someone else having that problem and my solution working is reasonable. And that's when we get into what is known as build, measure, learn. You build a product, you measure the results of the effectiveness, and then you iterate on it as it evolves. And that is a very important and powerful mechanism when you're trying to improve your marketing and get better sales.
Yes, sir. Guys, we're going to go to one more break. And when we come back, more on branding and marketing. Stay tuned.
Marketing like a leader. So marketing like a leader is teaching you the 5 P's of marketing: people, place. You got to know who you're selling to, and you got to know where you're selling to them. You got to know your product. If you don't understand your product, no one else will either. So you have to get clarity on that. Positioning. What is your positioning in the marketplace? What I like to say is that we help people go from the best kept secret to the only viable option. The only viable option. You need the number 1 positioning in your vertical. And then the 5th P is pricing. Oh, guys, what is your price? I always say to add a 0 to your pricing. People come to me with $5,000 products. And I say, okay, that sounds good, but let's see if we can't add a 0 to the back of it, make it $50,000, and then see what kind of value we need to put in there. So that's what we're going to teach you inside of Marketing Like a Leader, how to market yourself as a leader and take absolute ownership of the vertical. Click the link below and let's grow. I'll see you on the other side. Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's: the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
All right, guys. So we are back. And Bobby, I must say, man, it's been a very interesting conversation. Very, very interesting topic. Guys, if you've learned a lot from this conversation today, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm going to read just a few comments that I see here. I see Dr. Michelle, very active. Let's see what she says here. So she says, that's really good because it leans into pleasure pain principle. People run faster from pain than towards pleasure. That's true. That's a very good perspective on it. She also says, as a mental health therapist and life coach, I help my clients craft their goals by what they don't want in order to get what they do want. True. So Bobby, what's interesting is when you ask people what they want, most people don't know what they want. Put it in the chat if you can relate to what I'm saying. Like if I said, Tia, what do you want? Or Dr. Michelle, what do you want? Maybe you know, but most people they don't. Like they don't know what they want. Most people don't know what they want, but almost everybody knows what they don't want, right? So I know what I don't want, Bobby. What I want, there's so many options to choose from. I'm like, I want this, I want that, but do I really want this? Do I really want that? But if you ask me what I don't want, I could tell you right away what I don't want. So I think that's a really good perspective on it. But what are your thoughts, Bobby, as you go into the final segment? You're on mute.
Thanks, Junior. I was thinking about helping people. Like when you really help somebody, marketing is like an ambulance, I think. Like when I think about marketing, I'm like, when you're closing the deal, let's say you're in the operating room, like you're operating on someone and you're trying to save their business. Marketing is like when you're driving on the highways and you like see someone or like something has happened and it's catastrophic. The marketing is, I think, supposed to be loud, it's supposed to be fast, and it's supposed to be furious. Like people are supposed to get out of the way. So like if imagine your marketing as an ambulance with sirens and you are on your way to saving someone's life. Like the person that has the problem is in dire need of your solution. Is your marketing loud enough to get people out of the way? Are your sirens red enough and flashing enough for other people on the road, other competitors or different people trying to vie for the same, prospect? Are you so loud, so furious, so big that people get out of the way so that you can help? That's what I'm thinking about. So like when I think about marketing, when I think about research, strategizing, and being a wordsmith, I'm thinking about being loud, being bold, taking a strong position, and furiously cutting through the hype. And if you do that, I feel like people are going to get out of your way. And the people that are in dire need are going to say, help me, please. And you'll just pull out your stretcher, throw them on an appointment, get them to the hospital where you can actually take a better look at what they're experiencing and what they got going on. So this was very insightful for me. It just let me know that marketing is so important, and don't be shy when you do it. Don't be bashful. Be loud. Be aggressive.
I want to also add a caveat to that by asking a question. And you could put it in the chat. So anybody, you could just go ahead and put it in the chat. How many of you know where Rolls Royce markets their cars? Have you ever seen a Rolls Royce ad on Instagram, on Twitter, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, on television, on radio, on a magazine? Anybody? Never, right? So they have to market, don't they? So where do they market? Where do they go, Bobby? Where do they market their stuff? If they're not marketing, how are they making sales? Let me tell you where they market. So Rolls Royce markets their cars in the same area where Boeing releases the new private jets. So if there's like sometimes there'll be like a car show. Like let's say Tesla or a company putting out a new car. They have like this new car show, right? So when jet makers release new jets, they have the jets on display. So let's say you want to buy a private jet. Maybe your chips are up 20 million, 50 million. If you like Bobby, 100 million, you want to buy a jet. Okay? There's the jet, And somewhere next to that jet, there's a nice showcase right there with the latest Rolls Royce. So the same people that are buying private jets are being sold the Rolls Royce. Now, here's my point. How come none of us have ever received an invitation to the event? Before I said this, how many of us even knew about the event? This is my point. We're not supposed to know about the event. So, yes, you market and you're loud and you're bold and you're all of that. But I want to also add the fact that you have to be precise.
Mhm.
In other words, if you're not on a Boeing list for a jet, or you're not already on the Rolls Royce list, if you're not invited to the jet party where you could preview the jet and walk on the inside and touch the gold and touch the nice brown leather and sit in the front next to the pilot and all of that stuff, you're not on the list for the party when they release the new Rolls Royce, and you will never know that is going on. Same thing for Ferrari. Ferraris, they have like these networking groups where Ferrari owners will get together and they will just talk network and then they'll just buy cars. And if you're not a Ferrari owner, you would never know what's going on. You would never hear about it. If you're not a jet owner, if you don't own a Rolls Royce, you don't own a Ferrari, Lamborghini, stuff like that, you would never know what's going on because you're not supposed to know, because you're not the audience, because you're not the target market. So you don't understand the message. And this is my point. So when you market, you definitely have to be bold. So you have to be bold, you have to be, all of those phenomenal things, but you also have to be precise.
Yeah.
And Bobby spoke about a niche just a while ago. This is a niche. This is what we call niching down, making the message so tight and so powerful and so impactful that you're only touching the people that you want to touch. You're not touching people that cannot buy. You're touching the people that came to buy, are willing to buy, and are here to buy.
Yeah, man, that's a great way to end today's show, Junior. Is be
I agree.
exclusive, be precise, be bold, and niche down. Like I have nothing left on that one. Super, super powerful show.
Yeah, I agree. Before we uh before we go, I do want to make one quick announcement. Um, so on Mondays, and this is only for Mondays. Most of you tuning on Monday, you would have noticed that we had a replay, playing on a Monday. So from Mondays, we'll most likely be running replays. This is only for Mondays, and the reason is because we have a lot of other business stuff to attend to in the morning, and that is not going to allow us to make the 8 a.m. call on a Monday. So on Monday, if you tune into Breakfast with a Brand and you feel like, okay, this is a replay, it most likely is. And just know that we're running a replay on a Monday, only a Monday, or in another circumstance where we really cannot make it. But just on Mondays, we will be most likely running replays, because we have multiple meetings. Both Bobby and I have multiple meetings in the morning that don't allow us to be present on a Monday. So just giving you a quick heads up. I'll also make the announcement tomorrow as well. But yeah, we will be posting the interesting replays. Like the replays they're informational. So I hope you guys enjoy. But just wanted to let you know that because we have the habit of always doing it live. So I don't want to, just surprise you. But like Dr. Michelle says, she loved the replay. And I think we did the replay with Dr. Michelle on Monday. Definitely. All right, guys. So with that being said, it's been a phenomenal show. See you tomorrow live at 8 a.m. Breakfast with a Brand. And by the way, if you need anything at all, if you're interested in any of the programs that we mentioned, if you want to learn how you can get in contact with me or with Bobby, just go to www.shawnraiz.com. In fact, it's right at the bottom here, www.shawnraiz.com. Check out the shop, look at what we have going on. And if you're interested in getting anything at all, then you could send me a message, send Bobby a message, or just fill out a form right there on that website, and we'll be right with you. Bobby, before we sign off, is there anything that you want to say?
No, there's not. Like, you did such a great job. You know, you covered everything. I think I laid out all of my points. You know, I'm solid, Junior. I'm solid.
Very nice. All right, guys. So have a phenomenal day, and we'll speak soon. Thank you very much. Let's grow.
Let's grow.